The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win. Sign up today, bet $100, and get $100 at wynnbet.com or download the WynnBET app and start winning today. State restrictions apply. Roster brought to you by the DJ and Dance. Our March Madness Bankroll contest is back. Free to enter and $1,000 in cash and prizes up for grabs. Plus, we've got the first half under bingo card. Enter both contests today exclusively on the SGPN app. Welcome, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Tuesday, March 14th, currently 11:02 on the East Coast. Here to recap what we saw on Monday night in the association and break down the NBA betting card for the Tuesday games. And I got my guys here with me. First up, it's the man, Delonte Smith. Delonte, what's going on, my man?
Not much, man. It's been a while since I've been up here, so ready to get to it. It's a couple of good games, so just looking forward to breaking the card down.
Yep. And also joining us, you guys know him as the voice of many pods on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, the Golf Gambling Podcast, WNBA, NFL, and of course here on the NBA Gambling Podcast is Scott Studio Reichel. Scott, what's going on, brother?
Nothing much. I've got to study golf apparently because I don't know that I do golf, but looking forward to going through
Did I say golf?
card. Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
I used to edit the golf
tennis
podcast. I was going to say I used
tennis.
to edit the golf podcast like last year, but yeah, overall fine.
Man of many hats.
Yeah, just working on my my wedge game from the sand. But besides
go.
that, doing pretty well. Coming off of a sweep yesterday, ended up having the Jazz plus 7.5 as my dog. Because why would the Heat ever be favored that many points, especially against the Jazz? And they won, but not by enough. And for my dog, I hit a long shot. I took Kyle Anderson double-double at plus 400. He overachieved. He hit the triple-double. I don't know what that price was, but he did have the double-double in order to get the triple-double, and that was plus 400. So a nice start to the week. Can't really complain about anything about how the day went. And, yeah, looking forward to the Tuesday card.
Yeah, yesterday was a pretty good day. I know you guys crushed it yesterday on the pod. I had a pretty good day myself as well with the player props. Did a Kent Ford Jr. 9-1 on his double-double. And then Jabari also, he's starting to look like he's rounding into form a little bit for the Rockets. That was at around plus 250, plus 260, depending on your shop. But yeah, yesterday was a pretty good day in the association. We did have, let's see, Milwaukee and the Kings game was a really good game. I know Scott just touched on the Utah Jazz and the Miami Heat. He do get the victory, like he mentioned, 119-115. But Jazz do cover again as an underdog at, was it plus 7.5, plus eight, depending on your book. They do get the cover there. Minnesota goes into Atlanta last night and gets the 21-point victory there. Another over for an Atlanta Hawks game. I think since the All-Star break, at least in their home games, I want to say they're now 5-1 towards the over, especially since they've made the switch over to Quinn Snyder as the head coach of the Atlanta Hawks. I think the surprise of the night, or maybe not to a lot, people like Terrell, Rockets do get the outright victory against the Boston Celtics last night. Like I mentioned, Kevin Porter Jr. had a big game. Jalen Green had a big game. Jabari Smith also had a huge game for the Rockets. All three of those, even KJ Martin, quietly had 20 points last night for the Houston Rockets. They get the outright victory, 111-109. They're around a 5-1 underdog in that game. And then the nightcap, pretty exciting games, or at least the Milwaukee and Sacramento game last night. Golden State gets the victory against Phoenix, 123-112. Phoenix made it a little bit of a game in that third quarter, but eventually the Warriors pulled away with a great second-half performance by Jordan Poole. Klay Thompson got it going in the first half. He dropped 33 points in that game. And then Milwaukee and Sacramento, that second half was just absolute bar burner. They combined for, I think, 141 points. 142 points in that game last night in the second half. But Milwaukee saw the return of Giannis, 133-124. Just absolutely no answer for the Sacramento Kings for Giannis. He goes on to drop 46 points, 19 of 28 from the floor. I mean, that was all the games. But Scott, let me start with you. Anything in particular from those games last night that caught your eye?
Well, besides the Celtics losing, which was the main talking point, I'll save that for either you or Delonte because I'm sure that that's worth talking about. But I want to talk about the trash talk quickly between the Warriors and the Suns, mostly between Steph and Chris Paul during the course of that game. This isn't 2014 anymore. Really? It was like 9 years ago. That was before you even won a championship. What are you talking about? Was I the one who found that really, really weird? Like 2014, you have to think back on the Clippers beat the Warriors in a 7-game series. I'm sure most people forgot that even happened because the Clippers lost the round after, and the Warriors, I think, fired Mark Jackson because of that series, and they eventually won a couple of championships. I don't know where that came from. I just thought that was one of the most random pieces of trash talk I've ever seen because they played in the playoffs one or two times. Chris Paul got injured mid-series, happens. But Chris Paul's been around for so long. 2014? Really? Like, I don't know where did that come from?
It was probably,
I'm not a proponent of two North Carolina guys.
I'm not sure if you've seen the Pete Weber when he, I don't know if it was some bowling.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of that. Like he's just randomly saying shit that he just wants to talk shit. He's
did you know that Pete Weber quote's actually funnier because that entire thing was directed at a 12-year-old kid.
Was it really? I didn't see it was in the
12-year-old kid.
That's funny.
He said that in a podcast. Some 12-year-old was cheering loudly for the opponent. And that whole "who do you think you are, I am" thing was at a 12-year-old who was in like the second or third row in the stands, which I think is fun.
Crazy.
But, yeah, either way, I don't have an issue if they're going to trash talk because Chris Paul and Steph have beef together, and they've been constantly battling in the playoffs or just in the Western Conference for a long time. The 2014 part's the thing that I find weird. You've had so many encounters since 2014, and the Suns have also owned you like the entire season, besides this one game.
Yeah.
I thought it was weird that Curry, the trash talk, whatever, it's easy to talk when you're up, it's fine. They were dominating. Then they blew it, and then they had to win the game again. The 2014 part's what threw me for a loop. I just thought that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just caught up in the moment or whatever the case might have been. But yeah, look, Suns had won 3 of the previous matchups this season. So it was as far as tiebreakers go, it didn't really matter. But as far as the standings, it was an important game for both teams. And again, Golden State just came out on fire. But yeah, I saw the highlight of it, Scott, on Twitter, and it kind of threw me off as well. I was like, I exactly didn't know what he was referring to there.
Chris Paul wasn't sure either. I mean, I can't tell if he was joking or not, but he's like, 2014, what happened in 2014? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was a 7-game series for the Clippers, which I remember because I was rooting for Golden State because I thought they were more entertaining at the time. But I don't know why this was the moment to bring up something that happened before you started a dynasty and won several championships. You could have gone in so many different directions. You could have taken the Chris Paul CP0 angle. You could have gone with any type of angle you wanted based on how many playoff failures he's had, etc. I don't know. I just thought that was very weird. Plus, Chris Paul's like 38 years old. What are you doing? Leave the old man alone. What are you doing?
Nah, man.
Anything
Chris
else
Paul's
from
always
last night?
talking shit.
Go ahead, Delonte.
No, Chris Paul's always talking shit, man. He's always talking shit. So I mean, Steph, that was weird, like of him talking, but Chris Paul's always talking shit, man. He could have been talking about the battle for North Carolina guards. I'm not really a proponent of two North Carolina guys fighting like that, but hey, it's entertaining at least.
I just think it was one of those arguments or beefs. Or
no. I'm from North Carolina, and both of them are from North Carolina too.
Okay.
I don't want them fighting against each other.
All right.
I just think that it was a situation where you have a couple of guys who are either cursing each other out or somebody said a comment, so then they start going back and forth. And at every point when that happens, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Somebody says a line when they run out of comebacks that doesn't make any sense, and everyone's looking back like you clearly just either lost or he got under your skin. That's what Chris Paul did to Steph, I guess, because I don't know what Steph was talking about.
It reminded me of that video that's always on Twitter, the two guys that are flicking each other off, but not really doing anything.
Oh, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Anything else from last night, Scott?
No. I didn't mention the Celtics thing because you already did, but of course
Yeah.
that's really just a ridiculous loss. I know Philly's about 1 game back. I know that Delonte mentioned it a couple weeks ago. Philly to win the division now is like plus 550, and they have the same amount of losses. They are currently separated by 1 game, but Boston's played an extra 2 games. Really, plus 550 for a Celtics team that's been kind of falling apart?
Is it still plus 550?
It was 550 yesterday. It was right after the Celtics lost to Houston. I think it was 550.
You may have to get down to it.
I got a lot of Philly features, man.
Yeah, Delonte. I know you mentioned a couple weeks ago. I think it was like 850 at the time.
I got I think I got some 850. I got some 9-1. I got some 4-1 before the season. I probably got like 7 or 8 bits for a Philly. So
yeah,
if they win, I might be taking a week off.
And shout out to Milwaukee for winning on the road. Sabonis had a massive stat line, but Giannis had a casual like 46 and 12. And shout out to Brook Lopez, who proved he would have actually kicked Trey Lyles' ass, and I think that he was actually willing to fight.
Oh yeah, I was towards even at the end of the game there that I think he was like moving like 4 Sacramento Kings players on his own, like during that scuffle. It was.
But can we agree that he was trying to fight, so he's not in that list? Because it looked like Lopez was actually trying to kill him.
Oh yeah, he was ready to swing. He had him by the throat already, and he was ready to throw. He was ready to throw a punch in there before he got held back. But
so what happened?
That was an entertaining game in this. It was, I think, something prior to kind of, I know he had a bloody. He got bloodied up earlier in that game.
Okay.
Yeah, he got elbowed in the third quarter.
That's probably what it was. I seen Fox say something about Giannis, like it was Giannis's fault. But I mean, what the hell did Giannis do? Why didn't nobody attack Giannis?
I tuned out the game at the wrong time because I had the second half over and it had cleared, and then I think Grayson Allen hit that dunk at the end to put them up 9, and then Fox came back and missed a 3, and then they were just dribbling it out. So I turned it off. I go back and check the score. The game was still going. I was like, okay, something probably happened. I went back and tuned in, and like the scuffle broke out. But Fox at the end of in the press conference said that if Giannis would have just dribbled the ball out, none of that would have happened. But I don't know.
But he was dribbling the ball out. Like Lyles tried to reach, and then Giannis walked away. And then Lyles just like half shoved him in the back. I don't know what Giannis did besides drop 46 on his head. Yeah. I don't know what exactly happened there, but it was a good game. I just think that Trey Lyles is maybe another role player who's trying to talk like a starter, and he decided I'm going to shove the guy who dropped 46 on my team, and he just expected Lopez to not walk over and try to take his head off. Like I don't know what the Kings are talking about. Giannis did dribble the ball out.
Yeah. Also, before the game started yesterday, a trend or a stat came out that head-to-head between the Bucks and the Knicks, that 20 straight games had gone over the total.
Yeah.
Last time it had 21 in a row. So I don't know, maybe something to keep in mind going into the future, at least for. I don't think they match up again this season again, but maybe I'll write this one down. Hopefully, we can remember it for next season. Delonte, anything that stuck out to you last night?
And you like that.
Okay.
You stumped him. You stumped him with the question. And, he had to go back and think about it. But I don't really have anything more to add there. I had to at least mention the fight, but I don't know what the Kings were really complaining about. Giannis was dribbling the ball out, and he wasn't near a triple-double either, so he couldn't fake a shot at the rim. So I don't know what they were complaining about.
Yeah. I think we covered everything from last night. Did you see Dylan Brooks blowing a kiss to Luka and Kyrie Irving after he went 1 of 6 from 3-point? At that point, I think he was 1 of 6. I think that's what I read, but he finished the game going 4 of 11, and then they think they called the timeout after he hit that 3, and then Luka just kind of gets up and kind of smirks. He's like, all right, I'll have something for your ass next time.
I mean, Dylan Brooks is doing what his new shtick is, and he was the guy who was kind of talking some trash, and he was a guy that is not afraid to talk like a starter, speaking of which, talk like a head player, and he's definitely more of a liability than an actual positive for his team. I just thought it was funny. He's in a trash talk a team with no Kyrie and no Luka, and he was terrible before the actual shot went in, and then he made a shot, and he had himself a little moment there. Do you think he knows who Vernon Maxwell is? Because he copied his whole flow bar for bar. Of course, you know who that is.
Of course, I mean,
that was where the kiss to the crowd started.
Yeah, I don't think he does. He barely knows some of these other players that are real, or he claims he doesn't know these players. But yeah, I don't. Dillon Brooks rubs me the wrong way, man.
Ironically, by the way, doesn't he kind of remind you of Vernon Maxwell in a way or two?
To Dillon Brooks,
similarities there.
Yeah, I can see the comparison, but Vernon Maxwell definitely was a better shooter. I'll say
better player. Yeah, I'm just saying. I do see some similarities based on how they compose themselves.
Yeah. All right, we got Delonte back. Delonte, anything else kind of stuck out to you that we haven't discussed already?
Actually, I missed what you guys discussed, but
there's Dillon Brooks being.
We're just talking about Dillon Brooks blowing a kiss to Luka and Kyrie after starting 1 of 6 from 3-point land.
I can't wait until they get in the playoff series and they get absolutely smoked by whoever they're playing against, and he just can't say anything. He's just like,
he's gonna say something. They're just gonna laugh at him.
I do respect that though. I do respect that. I do respect that no matter if they're down, losing, lost, or whatever, he's still going to talk shit. I respect people who do that. I really do. Not saying it's warranted, but I mean, I have no idea what that guy's doing. But they're going to get smoked by somebody in the playoffs, and I'm going to probably be betting against them probably every game. As far as last night, the Bucks, man, I just don't know if anybody can contain what they do on a night in, night out basis. Like, the intensity that they play with in a regular season game is just far above what anybody else does. Like, I watched a lot of that Kings game, and they were like, the Kings were in control of that game for probably about like 3 quarters, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say like late half of the third quarter, the Bucks just went on a run and
and it's just like, I think Bud called a timeout. I think it was a Sabonis. I think it was a Sabonis 3, maybe like on the late shot clock, and he called a timeout. And I don't know what he said or what Giannis said, but they just came out and they were just dominant. Like, Chris Middleton's starting to look like himself again. He's getting back in rhythm. I like some of the things that they were doing with him with that second unit. He's actually playing better with the second unit than he is with the first unit. I mean, but I don't. The Bucks just, man, they look so good, and that was on the road. Something that a lot of teams can't do is win on the road, and that's a quality opponent with Sacramento, regardless of how people think, if they're fugazi or not. But I think that's a quality opponent with a good half court. And the Bucks, man, I added another feature on them to win the East and to win the championship. So I thought that was a really, really good performance last night.
Yeah, I mean, they look really good, man. They got, obviously, like you mentioned, they got Giannis back. And I think they're one of the more complete teams. It was so funny
watching Sacramento try to guard him, by the way. They never stood a chance. They never stand a chance, and he had 46. It was just easy work for Giannis.
Really
I think Bud does a good job of trying. You know how teams try to build a wall. I think they do a good job of moving him around, like putting him in the middle of the free throw line and posting him up a lot. I think he does a really good job of getting Giannis into space and overloading one side where you can't double Chris Middleton, and you got Grayson Allen who can shoot, Ingles, Crowder. So I think he does a good job of scheming up to get Giannis some of that space, because we all know when he gets in space, it's over.
Kings even tried some zone in there.
Yeah, they did.
And
it wasn't working.
Monumental waste of time. They gave it to Giannis in the middle of the zone, and he had just a straight line to the rim in about 2 seconds every time. But at least they were trying something.
Yeah, I give him that.
All right, guys, let's get over to the schedule for tonight. So before we go there, let me tell everyone about our presenting sponsor. That is going to be WynnBET. They are the official online sportsbook of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and WynnBET is active now in Massachusetts and a ton of other states. Be on the lookout for the WynnBET Win Hour each Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. During WynnBET Win Hour, marquee games of the week will have better odds on WynnBET, giving you a larger payout opportunity. And March Madness is here, so many ways to bet on the Big Dance. Sign up today to receive a special offer, bet 100 and get 100, limited state availability. And of course, for our DGens only, if you hit the biggest long shot parlay of the week, you get 1,000 free credit. There's so much to choose from. All you have to do is head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET or download the WynnBET app. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at WynnBET.com. Must be 21 years or older and present in the state where playthrough WynnBET is available. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Also, we're brought to you by the March Madness contest happening over on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. The DJ and Dan's Our March Madness Bankroll contest is back. Free to enter, and $1,000 in cash prizes are up for grabs. Plus, we've got the first half under bingo card where you can win a SGPN gift card. Enter both contests exclusively on the SGPN app. All right, guys, let's get into the schedule here for tonight. The first game on the schedule, it's going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers are here tonight. This line opened up in favor of the Cleveland Cavaliers at -7.5. That number has pretty much stayed the course at -7.5. Total opened up at 221.5. That means that number has now been bet up a little bit to 223.5. Starting to see some 224s out there as well. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Cleveland Cavaliers, only Jared Allen is going to be out here tonight. He's dealing with a eye injury. And then for the Charlotte Hornets, Cody Martin is going to be out. Mark Williams is going to be out for this game. And then Kelly Oubre Jr. is probable here tonight for the Hornets. Scott, why don't you kick us off with this game? Cleveland laying 7.5 on the road here tonight in Charlotte to take on the Hornets.
So Charlotte just had them on the ropes and then choked in the fourth quarter. What else is new? And Cleveland outscored them 33-19 in the fourth to win the game by 6. I think I'm going to lean to Cleveland here. Charlotte gave Cleveland its best punch, in my opinion, and then eventually just wore down and ran out of gas in the fourth quarter. I think Cleveland might have been overlooking them, and I think that won't happen again. We saw Cleveland pick it up a level that Charlotte can't, and I think that'll be more the case or the story for this game. I'm going to lean to Cleveland. Mobley was horrible on the glass in that game without Allen. I think he'll do a better job this time around. Yeah. I still like the overall talent on Cleveland a lot more than Charlotte, and I think that Cleveland will win the game comfortably. But it was the fact that Charlotte really should have won the game, and then they got smacked in the fourth quarter. I think Cleveland got the wake-up call it needed, and I think it's going to bury this team.
Yeah, this is a front end of a back-to-back for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They do have Philadelphia tomorrow, but they've actually been really good on the front end of back-to-backs. I was trying to pull up the number, but the site I use isn't working right now. But I want to think they were undefeated against spread in those situations. And like you talked about, I was on Evan Mobley rebounds in that game, but he got into foul trouble in that first quarter. I think he picked up 2 quick ones in that game, but he still ended up finishing the game, I think, with either 8 or 9 rebounds in that game. So, like you mentioned, he should do a better job here tonight. I like Cleveland here as well. I think that they'll come in here, they'll take care of business before the game tomorrow against the against the Philadelphia 76ers. But like I mentioned, they're 6-0 against the spread in front end of back-to-backs. And on the road, I think they're 3-0. I'll try to pull that up as we go along here. But Delonte here, Cavs at Hornets, man.
Yeah, is that game, is it in Philly or is it in Cleveland? The game tomorrow.
Let me pull that up here. It is
I didn't know that they played. Yeah, I didn't look at the schedule, so I didn't look at the
home game for Cleveland tomorrow.
All right, yeah. So I lean to Charlotte. Not anything like big, or I just think that they've been playing hard over the last I guess initially after LaMelo went down, they were horrible. I think they got smacked by Brooklyn, and another team smacked them. I can't remember who it was, but since those 2 beatdowns, they've been playing really good, being competitive. They've been killing it defensively. Actually ranked 3rd in defensive rating over the last 10 games, which is actually surprising to me. Cleveland, on the other hand, they haven't been playing as well defensively. Maybe some of that's due to injuries and foul trouble to Mobley and Allen, but they're 14th in the last 10. I mean, that's not obviously it's above average, but they're used to being in the top 3. I think overall in the season they're 2nd in defensive rating. But I think the Hornets can keep it competitive here. It's going to be a defensive game, so I think that bodes well for the underdog. Usually the second game of those home and home situations usually leans to the team that got beat, especially if it's a team who was basically controlling the game for 3 quarters. So I like the Hornets here. I think that if they keep the game a little bit, at a slower pace, which the Cavs don't mind playing at a slower pace, I think they can cover this game. I mean, they've covered 6 of the last 10. The Cavs are a 31-23-2 ATS on the season as a favorite, but that's That's not including, like their numbers as a road favorite are a little bit worse than that. But yeah, I like Charlotte tonight. I think they can stay within the number.
Yeah, in that game, Evan Mobley, we talked about, had 18 points, 9 rebounds. I know I was on that prop because I remember he picked up 2 early fouls, but he started picking up the rebounds. So if he's able to stay out of foul trouble here tonight, I'll probably go back to that player prop. But before we get to the player props, like Delonte mentioned, if you want to go last 10 games or last 5 games, I think both these teams have been really good defensively. I went last 5 games, Cleveland number 1 as far as defensive rating, and the Charlotte Hornets are number 7. And then, like Delonte mentioned, over the last 10 games, Charlotte number 3 as far as defensive rating. So I think we'll see more of a defensive game here, like Delonte mentioned, which I do like the under in this game. That number is currently at 224, currently over on WinBet. Scott, do you have thoughts on the total here?
I'm going to lean to the under as well. I think both teams defensively, as you said before, have been better, and I do think that the pace might be a little bit lacking there. Charlotte's played slower since LaMelo got injured, obviously, and I'll go with the under. I think it'll be close, but I think it'll be somewhere in the low 220s, high 210s range.
Yeah. Cleveland number 27 as far as pace over the last 10. Charlotte is around number 12, but again, the offensive efficiency just hasn't been there, even though they are pushing the pace a little bit, but definitely slower, like Scott mentioned, without LaMelo Ball in the lineup. Delonte, total?
Yeah, I like the under. 22 of the 33 home games for Charlotte have went under. Like I said, both teams playing really good defensively, and in the second matchup, they've seen them. They've got a chance to feel some of the things that each offense does. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be some adjustments made by both coaches, and I think it's going to be a low possession game. Like the first game closed, I think 220, and Charlotte had to give up 33 points for it to go over. It barely went over. So I mean, at 224, I'm not sure. I think that's an over adjustment. So
yeah,
I'll stick around and wait for it to see if I can get like a 225, 224 and a half, and I'll go under that.
All right, let's get over to the player props in this game. LG mentioning really likes Evan Mobley's over 2.5 assists. He's covered in the last 4 games without Jared Allen in the lineup, and his primary rim postscript will be more passive on offense. Also, versatile centers crush this line. Any thoughts? I pulled up Evan Mobley's numbers. He's gone over this in 4 straight games without Jared Allen in the lineup. That number is currently at 2.5 at minus 125. So yeah, I can get there with that. Unless you want to play a PRA, I'll try to pull that up. But Delonte, why don't you lead us off player props in this game if you have any?
I like Mobley under 11.5 rebounds. I think it's way too high. He's under in 3 straight and 10 of the last 12. So I think it's a little overinflated because of foul trouble and what Allen being out. I think they're expecting him to be like a dominant force on the boards. I mean, he is a good rebounder, but I mean, he's not 11.5 is a lot of rebounds. That's like Sabonis, Giannis, Anthony Davis territory. I don't think he's that good of a rebounder. And the interior of the Hornets defense it's not bad. I mean, they have some solid pieces on the inside with Oubre. Oubre's playing tonight, right?
Yeah, he's probable officially on the injury report.
Yeah. So, but even PJ Washington, Nick Richards, I know Mark Williams is out, so I would love for him to been in, but yeah, I like him under 11.5 rebounds. I think it's a little bit too high.
Yeah, I do like Nick Richards in this game. Whether it's rebounds or whether it's his points, he's had a double-double in 2 of the last 3 games. For the Charlotte Hornets, last game against Cleveland, he had 15 points and 12 rebounds in that game. That number is currently at plus 150 for his double-double here tonight. Scott, player props.
Yeah, you mentioned Richards. That's going to be my main guy. I've been praising him for months, and now Charlotte finally let him cook, and he's been playing well. Mark Williams, it was fun while it lasted, but I guess the foul trouble was too much for the coaches to handle, and they decided to let Richards get most of the run lately. He's been good, and he was good against Cleveland last meeting a couple days ago. I think he'll be good again. I like Richards double-double at plus 150.
All right, let's keep it rolling here, gentlemen. We'll get over to the next game of the night. It's going to be the Pistons are traveling to the nation's capital here tonight to take on the Wizards. This line opened up in favor of the Washington Wizards at 10.5. That number's been bet up to minus 12.5. Total up in about 224.5. That number's now at 222.5 consensus. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Washington Wizards, Johnny Davis, Taj Gibson, and Kyle Kuzma are officially questionable here tonight.
Everybody really throwing Johnny Davis out there? Really?
I mean, he's on the injury report, so really? I just had to read it out loud.
I went to Wisconsin. You don't have to go that far.
What a waste of a draft pick by them. He should have stayed in school, honestly. But whatever.
It would have been the tournament if he stayed in school. So I kind of agree.
Yeah.
But
Pistons did play last night. No injury reports submitted for them yet, but they did get the victory against the Pacers, 117-97. Scott, why don't you lead us off with this game? Washington laying 13, let's call it 12.5 right now over on WinBet.
So I understand that Detroit played yesterday and they're on a back-to-back. They were already benching half their team. And they've been especially bad on the road. They're 7-26 on the road. Having said that, am I really supposed to lay 13 points with the Wizards? How the hell?
I can't
no, like I got to take Detroit on principle. We just saw a double-digit underdog win yesterday outright with the Rockets. It happens more often than you think. But Washington has not played well. They have played some decent teams, played the Hawks twice competitively, and they lost to the Sixers. Happened. Sixers have been very good. I can't lay 13. I just can't do it. If the spread was 7 or 8, maybe I'd consider the Wizards. 13 is crazy. It's Detroit or pass.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really big number. They've been decent on back-to-back games, have the Detroit Pistons, but like you mentioned, have the team sat yesterday, so I'm guessing maybe half of those guys play here tonight. But yeah, 13 is a real 12.5, 13. Again, definitely shop around for the best number. I'm right there with you. I got to take the Pistons here on the spread as well. Delonte, what do you got?
Yeah, I don't trust the Wizards either, especially if Kuzma's banged up. So I mean, they really don't need him for this game. So I would imagine that he sits. But Detroit 7. You mentioned off the back-to-back. They're 7-5 ATS off the back-to-back, yep. So not horrible. And they're actually not horrible ATS on the road. They're right at 500. I think like 16-16, maybe 17-16. If you like, it depends on what book you're using as a closing number. But I just don't trust Washington laying as big of a number. I mean, they haven't been covering as of late. 3-6-1 ATS the last 10. I know Detroit is coming off that back-to-back, and they got a win. So I think that was snapped like 11-game losing streak, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
10 or 11-game losing streak.
Yeah.
So I mean, they might be, a little bit overzealous, but I don't want to lay that number. What I would do is I'll lay 4.5 in the first quarter with the Wizards because they're one of the better first quarter teams in the NBA. They're 6-4 ATS the last 10. They're prone to get off the hot starts, especially at home. And with Detroit coming off that win, might come out a little bit stagnant. So I like Wizards in the first quarter minus 4.5, but I'll lean to Detroit full game.
All right, let's get to the total in this game. Currently sitting at 222.5. Delonte, what we got for the total?
Honestly, I have no idea. I don't know. My gut instinct leans under, but the Wizards haven't been playing good defense. But the counter to that would be, who the hell is going to score on the Pistons? So I think by virtue of that, I would lean under, just thinking that the Pistons don't score enough. Even if the Wizards score like 120, 130, I don't think the Pistons can get to a certain number to make it go over. So I'd lean under.
Scott?
I have no idea. I have no interest in betting the total in this one. Detroit's on a back-to-back, but they're half tanking. We know Boyan's not going to play the rest of the year. Is Ivy going to suddenly not play for a couple of weeks? Maybe. Is Duren going to not play? Maybe. Can you keep using Wiseman? Who knows? The point is, I don't know what Detroit's doing on a day-in, day-out basis. So on principle, I took the points. But for the total, I got no action. I just think that this is a game that I can't even say watch. I'm not going to watch a second of this game. So it's a game that I'd rather acknowledge exists without actually putting it on or having significant action on it. I got no thoughts on the total.
Yeah, I didn't have anything on the total either here. It could fly over the total, or we could see it go way under. So it's staying away from this game completely. Any player props you guys like? Delonte, have any player props?
Yeah, I don't have anything at all on player props.
Scott?
No, I don't have much. If Wiseman plays, maybe I'd consider double-double. I'd think about it. But as a whole, no, not really. I feel like it's one of those games with Washington. You never know what the offensive game plan is going to be. because you want Beal to be more aggressive because of how talented he is, but he's been mostly passive for the entire year. Kuzma's going to get his shots. Porzingis is going to get his shots. I don't know if they're going to go in or not. And with Detroit, once again, do you blindly just lean Killian Hayes under because he's bad at basketball?
Somebody just said in the chat, I can't lay 13 and a half with Killian Hayes.
What was the number yesterday? It was like 14 and a half. He had 8 in the first quarter, and he finished with 10. He's just not a good player. I've said it for several months at this point.
He had 10 points and 11 assists last night, 5 turnovers. So if he does play, maybe look at some turnover props or maybe steal props for either, I don't know. I know Monte Morris is back, but I did see DeLon Wright was going trying to kind of throw a box score. He does force those turnovers and get those steals. So maybe that's the only player prop that I was looking for, but it wasn't posted yet. All right, guys, let's not waste any more time on that game then. Let's go over to the next game of the night. We have the Denver Nuggets headed up north to take on the Toronto Raptors. This line opened up in favor of the Toronto Raptors at, let's see here.
I think it was 1.
Yeah, 1. It's still at -1 right now. Total opened up at 229. That number has pretty much stayed the course at 229. That number's actually been bet down to 227. Do see some 226 and a halves out there as well. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, let's start with the road team, the Denver Nuggets. Reggie Jackson is probable here tonight. Jamal Murray is officially questionable here tonight. And that is pretty much it for the Denver Nuggets. For the Toronto Raptors, pretty clean injury report. The usual suspects are out for this game, but the main starters, Siakam, Scotty Barnes, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent, all those guys are going to be playing here tonight. These two teams had matched up not too long ago. I believe it was just last week where I think Denver did get the outright victory, but I'm not sure they covered the spread in that game. But we saw what Fred VanVleet said after the game about the officiating. I believe it was that game.
Yeah, it was
118, 113 victory for the Denver Nuggets. They did not cover the spread. It was -6, but the game did go over the total of 228 and a half. Scott, lead us off with this game right now. Toronto -1 hosting the Denver Nuggets.
So I find the side very tricky in particular because Denver has been horrible lately, especially defensively, and Coach Malone called them out. Then Michael Porter Jr. said that it's tough to get into a rhythm when I get benched for the entire quarter. So he's taking shots at the coach while they're the 1 seed. But we know that Porter Jr. and Malone have hated each other for a long time. That's been an issue for years. But it's really tough to trust the Nuggets. But then on the other hand, it means you're trusting Toronto. And I hate doing that too. So I think I'll lean to Toronto because the line does seem extremely trappy. And Toronto really had Denver on the ropes last time. And then they kind of imploded late. And then you had the technical foul situation with Scotty Barnes and he got ejected, whatever. The point is Toronto had a good chance to win that game. I think I'd rather take playoff props. I'd take a player props. I think I'd rather go with like Jakob Poeltl, who I saw was at 13 and a half. I think he had 17 or 18 the last time they played, and he's been pretty good with points lately. He's played a bunch of minutes. I'm going to lean to, for the most part, I'm going to lean to Toronto, I guess, but I think I'd rather look for maybe a team total over for Toronto and just dare Denver to actually stop anybody right now.
Yeah, Denver over the last 3 games, they've been struggling on the defensive side of the basketball. Even if you want to go back to last 5, their defensive rating is at number 21, below league average. But even over the last 3 games, they've been that number drops all the way down to number 20. I think it was actually dead last as far as defensive rating over the last 3 games. They're allowing opponents to score 122 per game. So it's not very good right now for the Denver Nuggets defensively, but I think that's a lot of it we've seen, and people have talked about this. I think we've talked about this as well, is that got to make the Joker play some type of defense. And then if they're putting him in a pick and roll, that's where the opponents of the Denver Nuggets, at least over the last 3 games, have been able to do damage against the Denver Nuggets. So we'll see if the Toronto Raptors do that. Raptors not very better defensively either. They're number 23 as far as defensive rating over the last 3 games. But I'm going to lean with the Raptors here as well. You know, like Scott mentioned, they had him on the ropes in that final minute or so, and then we saw the theatrics of the technical fouls and Scotty Barnes getting ejected. Of course, Scott Foster was on that game, but and this season he has been trending towards home teams very heavily, at least against the spread, has Scott Foster. So a bit of a revenge angle here for the Toronto Raptors now welcoming the Denver Nuggets into their building. I do like the -1 here for the Toronto Raptors. Delonte, what do you got?
Yeah, I can make cases for both sides. I think you guys brought up basically the entire handicap from each angle. Both teams have lost 3 straight. Toronto 2-3 ATS in that span. Denver 1-4 ATS in that span. But I think the bigger story obviously is Denver because of the seed that they are. And I do respect Malone like not playing Porter, late in games because I mean he can't play defense and you can't have.
Since he came into the league, they've hated each other.
Yeah, I mean you can't have him and Joker on the floor at the same time in crunch time because I mean somebody has to guard somebody, and if they do play both, then somebody has to guard Siakam, which I mean who the hell is that going to be? And Joker, I mean he's pretty much playing free safety in the middle of the defense. He's not really guarding anybody, and I mean he's not a good rim protector. So, Toronto's returning home from a 5-game road trip. I usually like to fade teams off of that road trip, but Munaf, you mentioned the revenge angle. I think they were the better team in Denver that night, but they do struggle defending the 3, which Denver shoots the ball extremely well, first in 3-point percentage, and Toronto's 28th in 3-point percentage defense. Toronto also has a problem, defending the rim. They are 20th in rim percentage defense, and Denver gets to the rim pretty easily. Most of that is between Jamal Murray and Michael Porter and some of those guys. They're second in rim percentage offense. But, yeah, I think Toronto can get it done here. What I will do is if Murray is ruled in, I'll be on Toronto. But if he's ruled out, I'll probably take the points with Denver simply because of an overreaction. Because if he's ruled out, I'm pretty sure it's going to close like, 2.5, 2.5, and I'll probably be on Denver. But Toronto, they got to get to the rim. Denver's weakness is rim defense, where they rank 29th. And if they can get Siakam downhill, Fred VanVleet off the pick and roll, I think Munaf, you mentioned that. That's a good way to get into the paint against Denver. Fred VanVleet has been like awesome distributing the ball. So if they can get Scotty Barnes, Siakam, OG downhill to the rim, and even get Joker in foul trouble to keep him off the floor, I think they'll be at an advantage. But on the opposite end, if Denver can get that offense rolling with or without Murray, if they can get that offense rolling, I don't think Toronto can withstand some of the things that they can do offensively. So I'll lean and I guess to Toronto, but if Murray's ruled out, I'll probably be on Denver.
I like Toronto, the over as my main play.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Toronto got outscored in that fourth quarter. What was it last Monday? 35-25 by Denver, which kind of really propelled them to that victory there. But and again, like I mentioned, we saw what happened at that end of the game. But Scott, you mentioned you like the over in this game.
Yeah, I can't really say no when Delonte lays out that Toronto's defense isn't exactly well equipped to stop Denver, and Denver's defense isn't well equipped to stop anybody right now. I see points. I'm going to go with the over.
Denver has given up 117, 128, and 122 over the last 3 games on their losing streak. And then the Toronto Raptors, for the last 5 games, have gone over the total. They've given up points as well, but they're averaging close to around 115 per game over the last 5 games against opponents. Delonte, thoughts on the total?
Yeah, I'm going over. I mean, Scott laid it out. It's just advantages on both sides for offenses, and it could end up being attracting. I mean, the Raptors don't look to run, but in the game against Denver, at Denver, it was a little bit more paced than what I was thinking of. But I think both offenses have the advantage. Let's see, 4 of the last 5 went over for Toronto. 3 of the last 5 went over for Denver. Denver's offense travels on the road. They're pretty much top 5 on the road and at home in offensive efficiency. And I mean, I don't see any ways that either team can stop one another. So I like the over.
Yeah, I'm there with you guys. I probably like a Raptors team total over in this game. Again, like I mentioned, the last 3 games, Denver dead last as far as defense goes. And I think the only guy that really plays defense on this team is Aaron Gordon.
Bruce Brown.
You could throw into that conversation as well.
KCP does.
KCP, but I think like we mentioned that what the game plan for the Raptors should be is that it's going to be that pick and roll here tonight, whether it's getting inside the paint or dishing out to some of the shooters that they do have on this team. So they did score 113 in Denver in that last game. And then the team total tonight for the Toronto Raptors is at 114. So I think being back at home in their building, like we mentioned with the revenge angle, I think that they should be able to take advantage here. So I do like the over for the full game. I think my better play would be the Raptors team total. go over to some player props in this game. Delonte, why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, I like Van Vliet over, man, over his assists. If you look at Van Vliet's like assist log, Jesus, he's like Magic Johnson. Like he is dishing the rock like crazy. He's over in, let's see, he's over in let's see, 6 of the last 7. He had 13 against Denver in the previous game. I also like his points and assists over. Munaf, you hit the nail on the head with the pick and roll. So I think they're going to put Jokic in a lot of pick and roll sets, and I think he's going to play drop coverage, and Fred VanVleet's going to burn him. So if you can get plus money on over 8.5 assists also on Fred VanVleet. His points and assists is at 27.5. He's over in 2 of the last 3 with that. So hey man, I like Fred VanVleet a lot in this game. I also like Scotty Barnes rebounds and assists over 10.5. So he's over in 2 of the last 3, and he's been more assertive on the glass, and he will be with the Nuggets having a lack of paint presence. So I think he's doing a good job also of running the secondary offense when Fred VanVleet's off the floor, and he was doing that a little bit more on a road trip. But I like the matchup for him. So his rebounds and assists is over 10.5. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I'm going. The first play I put in today was actually Fred VanVleet assist over 8.5. Just all the reasons that you mentioned. I'm not going to repeat everything. 14 against the Denver Nuggets. Also did take Fred VanVleet over 1.5 steals here tonight. That was at plus money at plus 110. He's had 2 or more steals in 6 out of the last 7 games. Overall, he did have 2 steals against the Denver Nuggets as well. So I think that trend is going to continue here tonight. So those are the 2 plays I did like for Fred VanVleet as far as player props. And again, if you are a DFS player, I think VanVleet may be a good option to put into your lineup here tonight as well. Scott, player props?
Yeah, I already mentioned Pirtle. I think that's a good price. It was around even money at 13.5. He's had at least 14 and 5 of 6. He's had at least 14 and 3 of 4 against Denver. And Denver's also allowing the 6th most points in the paint per game. And we know that all Pirtle does is take layups. So I think you're going to end up seeing Pirtle have a good game here. You mentioned VanVleet assists. I agree. He can't shoot, but he can pass. So there's that. But VanVleet, he's shooting 39% from the floor this year.
Yes, it's been pretty bad, and he still gets up the attempt, Scott.
And he wants
it doesn't matter.
He wants a big contract.
All right, anything else for this game, guys?
Murray threes if he plays, but I don't see much.
Yeah, he's been struggling shooting a little bit, Murray, but we'll see if he plays. Yeah. He'll 5 of 12 from 3-point land in that game?
I think he went 0 from 2, but he hit all 5 threes or something. I don't think he made a 2-pointer in the entire game.
Let me see. Jamal Murray, 5 of 19 from the floor against the Nets, 5 of 12 from 3-point land.
I thought, he went 0 for 7 from 2. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, 0 of 7 from 2. All right, guys, before we continue the conversation here, let me tell everyone about the brand new sponsor over on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. That is going to be Shady Rays. Look, summer is right around the corner, and you're probably looking for some new sunglasses. Let Shady Rays help you out. Kick off the new year with new gear built to last. Our friends over at Shady Rays have you covered from the sun to the slopes with premium polarized shades, customizable snow goggles, and much more. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. Their durable frames are extremely clear for outdoor adventures. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by the lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on the first day you get it in the mail, they told us they're going to send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after your purchase. With Shady Rays, you can look good and feel good. To date, they have donated over 20 million meals to fight hunger with Feeding America. And if you don't love them, exchange for a new pair or return them for free within the 30-day return window. There's no risk when you shop with Shady Rays. Their team always has your back. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the new year. Go to shadyrays.com and use promo code SGPN for 50% off of 2 or more pair of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 200,000 of their customers. That's shadyrays.com, and make sure to use promo code SGPN. All right, guys, let's continue the conversation here for the next game on the board. That's going to be The Lakers in New Orleans tonight to take on the Pelicans. Looking at the opening line for this game, the New Orleans Pelicans open up as a 1.5-point favorite. That number is now down to a pick 'em. Total opened up at 225.5. That number has pretty much stayed the course at 225.5. Do see some 226 out there as well. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, let's start here with the LA Lakers. Anthony Davis is probable here tonight. We know Mo Bamba is going to be out for a while. That is it for the Lakers. And of course, LeBron, we know, is out. For the Pelicans, Brandon Ingram is officially questionable here tonight with a right ankle sprain. And then, of course, we know Zion is out. And then Jose Alvarado also continues to be out for the New Orleans Pelicans. Scott, why don't you lead us off with this game? Currently down to a pick between the Lakers and the Pelicans.
So for this one, I think I'm going to lean to the Lakers. Pelicans had a nice win against Portland because Trey Murphy went nuts and had 40-something points. I still don't think this team is just that good. I think they're fine. Now, the Lakers are kind of in the same boat. I thought they've played pretty well. I thought the Knicks just outplayed them down the stretch, but D'Angelo had a 30-piece. He's been very good since he came back from injury. They still have Anthony Davis, who always does well against New Orleans. The series has been competitive this year. It's Lakers 2-1. They won the last meeting by 18. But AD just always gives New Orleans problems. And when you have a pretty much unguardable guy based on how New Orleans is structured roster-wise, I think you're going to end up seeing Davis has a good game. I think you'll probably see Malik Beasley get back on track. I like the depth that the Lakers have ever since they made the trade. I'm not sold on New Orleans bench at this point in time. I'm going to lean to the Lakers. I know New Orleans is very good at home, though, so it's kind of tricky. I like AD props. That's going to be the main thing for me. I just think that he's going to match up well. They're looking at his 2 meetings against New Orleans this season. 3 meetings. He had 20-16. He had 34-14 and 28-10. And he went 13 of 17 against New Orleans last game. So if he ends up shooting the ball more, I'm not sure New Orleans can stop him. He also only attempted 5 free throws and went 2 for 5 in the last meeting. I think he could be more aggressive and go to the line more. I like AD props in this game. I think he'll play well against his former team.
Yeah. I mean, he came out himself in that game against what was their last game against? Was it
the Knicks?
Yeah, the Knicks. Yeah. I'm sorry. And he said that I didn't play well in that game and I need to be better. And a lot of times when Anthony Davis does say that, he typically does respond in a big way. Obviously, the revenge angle is there as well for AD. I don't know how much that matters to him now after the trade, which happened about 3 years ago. But
he just keeps playing well against him.
Yeah, and again, like you mentioned, it's a matchup advantage as well, right? I don't think Valanciunas can guard him, and if I know he's playing here tonight, but he always gets into foul trouble. So I agree with you, Scott. I think it's probably more Anthony Davis props in this game, but I do like if I had to bet this game, and I'm starting to lean towards the Lakers and putting actually money down on it. You mentioned D'Angelo Russell has been playing well since he got traded, and again since he came back from the ankle injury. The depth has been really good. I want to see more out of Malik Beasley, at least consistently knocking down the 3-point shot. But Vanderbilt has been great for this team. Austin Reeves, since he came back, he's been really good as well. So I do like the Lakers in this game right now at a pick. Delonte, what do you got for this game, man?
Yeah, honestly, I have no idea what the Pelicans like. I can't catch up to the Pelicans. Either I bet on them, they lose. I bet against them, they win. So it's kind of up in the air on getting a handle on them. They haven't been playing well as of late. 3-7 ATS last 10. Like Scott alluded to, they are 19-15 ATS at home. They don't have a lot of offense. CJ McCollum's it looks like he's wearing down from having to carry the team. I don't think they brought him there to be like the number one. And right now, with all those injuries, he was kind of having to do everything, like set guys up. He's having to score. He's having to defend more than he wants to. So I like the Lakers here. I think you guys laid it out with the Anthony Davis thing. I think he has an extreme advantage. They're 7th in rim percentage offense are the Lakers, and New Orleans is dead last in rim percentage defense. So they should dominate in the paint, along with Rui, Vanderbilt, and some of those other guys should dominate in the paint. There should be free lanes to the basket. New Orleans is a little bit overrated as a defensive team. I think they're 9th in points per possession allowed. per 100 possessions. So I think it's a little bit overstated due to some of the lack of offenses they played in the past month. Their strength is defending the three, but I mean that don't matter here because the Lakers, they don't shoot the three well, so that strength is kind of negated. They do like to run in transition, and the Lakers struggle in transition, 27th in points per possession allowed in transition, while New Orleans is 10th on offense. But like you guys laid it out, I mean, the Lakers have played a tough schedule in the last 5 games. The Pelicans are the worst team they've played in probably like the last week and a half. So since LeBron, they're 4-2. Since that LeBron injury, they're 4-2 straight up. They've covered 7 of the last 10, including 3 of the last 5. Their defense has been elite over the last 10 games, second in defensive rating, and they're also 14th on the year. I just think that they can come in here after that lackluster performance and get the win. I mean, I know New Orleans, if Brandon Ingram plays, I guess the line will kind of shift to New Orleans. Maybe like it'll go off Lakers like +1, +1.5. But I just think that the path for victory is easier for the Lakers here. They defend without fouling, the first in free throw rate defense, which pretty much helps because New Orleans is top 10 in free throw rate offense, so they'll keep them off the free throw line. I don't think the Pelicans have enough offense to be able to score on the Lakers defense. So give me the Lakers here in the tight game.
Yeah, again, this is a big game for obviously playoff standings as well, at least the play-in bracket tournament. Both these teams have the same record at 33 and 35. So, when tiebreakers and things like that come into play, or even just qualifying for the play-in tournament, I mean, the team that loses here tonight probably, they will at least at the end of the night fall out of that play-in tournament bracket, and then whichever team wins will be tied with Dallas for the 8th spot as well. So I think more so the Lakers know what's at stake here tonight as far as playoff seeding and things like that go. So yeah, I do like the Lakers in this game, like you mentioned there, Delonte. Let's get over to the total in this game, guys. Currently sitting at 226. Delonte, what do you like for that as far as the total?
Yeah, I like the under. Like I've mentioned with the Lakers, I think they've been playing really good defense, and I don't think the Pelicans offensively can do anything. They don't have really an advantage other than transition, and I think the Lakers can limit some of the transition things that they want to do. So I like the under. I think it's going to be a slower paced game with the Lakers trying to pound the ball into AD, which is their biggest advantage. So why not pound the ball into AD? So I like the under here. I don't think that the Pelicans can score enough, and I think the Lakers, they're not just an explosive offense. So I think they'll score just enough to get the win.
Yeah, I mean, look, like you mentioned, their defensive rating has been really good over the last 10 games. Lakers are number 2 as far as defensive rating in the entire league, and if we want to filter that down to the last 5 games, they're still in the top 10. Tied at they're number 3 actually. So the defense has been consistent for this Lakers team. Scott, total?
For me, I'm going to lean to the under. The Lakers defensively have been solid. I'm not going to overreact to New Orleans waking up offensively because they faced off against Portland and Trey Murphy at 40-plus points. I feel like people are going to suddenly overrate the Pelicans offense because of one good game. But you're looking at the couple games before that, scored 96 against the Thunder, scored 113 against the Mavericks, which isn't even that impressive because Dallas can't guard anybody. They scored 108 against Sacramento. Sacramento really can't guard anybody. And they scored 99 against Golden State. I don't think this offense is very good, and Ingram might not play. I'll lean to the under in this one.
All right. Yeah, I do like the under in this game as well. Like we mentioned, the defensive number, actually for both teams, has been really good. And again, like Scott mentioned there, the offense, at least for the Pelicans, sure, they had one great game. But other than that, they've really been struggling. We've talked about that even prior to the All-Star break, that this offense just was struggling to score points. So 226 seems like a bit rich here. So I definitely like the under as well. Let's get into the player props here for this game. LG mentioning really likes the 80 over 2.5 assists. He has hit this in 3 straight this year against the Pelicans, and then 4 straight against the Pelicans. Hit in the last 4 games. Feels like a smash spot. Yeah, I think it's going to be a big AD game here tonight. Whether you want to play just points, rebounds, and assists, points and rebounds, or rebounds alone. I think this is a nice bounce back spot here tonight for Anthony Davis. Scott, I know you mentioned Anthony Davis in this game. Any other players, or you want to expand on Anthony Davis here tonight?
Well, I co-sign the assist play because I do think at some point New Orleans might start trapping or doubling because I just think that he's going to be too dominant down low. Do you blindly take D'Angelo Russell threes or points or something? Because it's tough to go against him right now.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's he's shooting it well, man. And I think that, we saw
Don't fall for it, man. Don't fall for it. Hey, listen, I like him tonight, but listen, D'Angelo Russell, he can go 0 for 17, 0 for 16. But,
yeah, I think the hand is hot right now, right? He's 11 of 19 over his last 2 games, so I think that probably got to continue to ride. He's at 28 and 33 over the last 2 games. Assists are there as well. He's had 7 or more in 3 of the last 4 games. 8 assists in the game against the Knicks, 9 against the Toronto Raptors. So if you want to go points and assists here tonight, I forgot who mentioned in the chat here. They also do like D'Lo's threes. Yeah, KW franchise pointing out D'Lo 4+ threes tonight is plus 170, 5 or more at plus 470. So keep that in mind. Delonte, player props.
Yeah, I was talking shit about D'Lo, but I do like his points in assists tonight. Over 27.5, but just long term, don't just think he's gonna be a consistent like 20 and 10 kind of guy. But I do like him tonight. Favorable matchup. He's went over 27.5 points in assists in 3 of the last 4. In the game that he didn't go over, he played 8 minutes. I'm not sure. Did he get injured in a game or to get taken out early? Because
the Golden State game.
I can't remember which game it was, but I know in that span, he only played 8 minutes in one of those games.
Yeah, that was a Warriors game where he hurt his ankle.
Yeah, so even then he was on pace to have a pretty good game in those 8 minutes. So I like him over 27.5 points and assists, especially without Alvarado. He's still out, right? Alvarado's still out.
Yeah, he's out for sure.
Yeah, so I mean they don't have a piss to really get on him, and even then he probably post him up. But yeah, I like D'Lo over 27.5 points and assists tonight.
Delonte the type, he'll push you down, but also give you a hand.
Man,
he'll pick you back up as well.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So what we'll do here, we'll break here for part 1, and then we'll get into part 2 here. So this is the end of part 1, and tune in for part 2. The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays, live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win. Bet $100 and get $100 at wynnbet.com or download the WynnBET app and start winning today. State restrictions apply. We're also brought to you by the DGen Dance. Our March Madness bankroll is back, and it's free to enter, and $1,000 in cash and prizes are up for grabs. Plus, we've got the first half under bingo card contest. Enter both contests exclusively on the SGPN app. All right, back for part 2 here. Let's get over to the next game of the night. It's going to be the Brooklyn Nets in Oklahoma City here tonight to take on the Thunder. Looking at the opening lines for this game, the Oklahoma City Thunder open up as a 1.5 point favorite. That number has pretty much stayed the course. Total open about 231.5. That number's actually been bet up to 233. Starting to see some 233.5s out there as well. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams. Start here with the road team, the Brooklyn Nets. Pretty clean injury report. Obviously, we know Ben Simmons is probably done for the rest of the year. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, Kenrich Williams is out, and that is pretty much the only significant injury of the guys that have been playing. SGA will be playing here tonight for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Josh Giddey and all those guys are in this game. Scott, why don't you lead us off with this game, man? Your Brooklyn Nets in Oklahoma City here tonight to take on the Thunder as a 1.5 point underdog.
I think it's a very fascinating matchup because the Thunder have abandoned the center position. They realize we have no good centers, so why are we even playing any at all? And they've kind of just been using a positionalist system, which has worked out pretty well for them lately. Meanwhile, the Nets have Claxton, who I expect to have a big game here. I'll get back to him later in the player prop section. But the Nets have won a couple games in a row. Beat Minnesota in overtime, beat the Nuggets. Games have been competitive, though. I see this game being very, very competitive, but I do think that the Thunder possess some potentially bad matchups for the Nets, and I saw the Thunder look pretty good against the Nets in the first meeting this season. I think I'm going to lean to OKC, but I don't exactly have a strong opinion on the side. I am going to lean to the under, though, because I do think that with both teams having a lot of quality switch options on pick and rolls based just on how the starting lineups are set up, I think you're going to end up seeing a pretty low-scoring game here. I think that the total's a bit high. I think you're going to see more of a defensive grind here. And the Nets late in games have been especially let's just say, slow with the basketball. They're not afraid to eat a bunch of clock, let Dinwiddie cook more than he probably should down the stretch because the possessions aren't always great. But I think you'll see a low-scoring fourth quarter, which might drag the total down. I like the under in this game.
All right, Delonte, we got side and total.
Well, I kind of lean to Oklahoma City here. I think that at home, where they're 21-14 ATS is big. I think they have a good home court advantage. The Nets have been playing a lot better as of late, but defensively they've fell off a lot. Offensively, they're still 26th, the last 10 in offensive rating. They had two big explosions. I forgot who they played, but they had two big explosions.
Denver and Minnesota.
Yeah, there we go. And I mean, Minnesota is still a decent defense. Denver, nobody respects on defense, but
it also went to overtime against Minnesota, so the numbers were inflated.
Yeah, that too. So I like OKC here. I like the pieces that they have on the wing to be able to contend with Bridges, Johnson, Dinwiddie. And I think that even though they don't, Scott alluded to it, they don't have an inside presence. Their guards rebound really well. I think Giddey had 11 rebounds in the last game. I think he had like 9 or 8 in like the previous 2 or 3. So he's rebounding the ball extremely well. I don't think that the Nets will be able to, withstand some of the stuff that they do in the half court. The OKC is really good in the half court. And while they don't rebound the ball well in the half court, they're top 5 or top 10 in offensive rebound percentage. So Brooklyn struggles on the offensive glass. So I look for them to be able to at least get Giddey and Jalen Williams, both Jalen Williams involved on the offensive rebounding glass. So I like Oklahoma City here. I just pretty much like the matchup. If they can turn Brooklyn over, I think they have a better chance of blowing this game open.
The Thunder have actually been really good in non-conference games this season, 16-9 against the spread in those games, and then at home this season in those spots they're 8-4 against the spread. So, this team, they're battling, man. They're typically over the past couple seasons we've seen where they've just kind of gone to a tank, but they have guys. We talked a lot both about the Jalen Williams, Josh Giddey, like you mentioned, has been playing really well. SGA, I mean,
whenever he plays.
Yeah, whenever he does. But I mean, he's been playing, but
when they allow him to play.
Yeah, they're not playing him on back-to-backs anymore. So, I do like Thunder in this game as well. Right now, that line, like you mentioned, is at around -1.5 in this game. So, and again, Thunder at home, they've been a cash cow as well, 21-14 against the spread at 60%. And they're 20-15 straight up at 57% as far as their home game. So, I'm with you guys. I like Thunder here. I did have a slight lean towards the over in this game, but the numbers are a little bit skewed for the Nets as far as season long when we talk about conference and non-conference games, because they were really good towards the over in non-conference games and against the spread as well. But obviously that's changed since the departure of Kyrie and KD from this team at the trade deadline. So I'll slightly lean towards the over, but nothing official there until I dig more into this game. Let's go over to some player props here, guys. Scott, why don't you lead us off with player props in this game?
So I have a couple player props I like. First one's going to be Claxton rebounds, which I see at 9.5. I think the number's way too low because I said before, OKC doesn't use a real center, and the Nets don't exactly have many center options. It's so bad they signed Nerlens Noel off of free agency to play as a backup center. And yeah, he was good for basically 1 year in his entire career. So I'm going to go with Claxton over in rebounds at like -130. It was 9.5. He's had at least 12 rebounds in 3 of the last 5 games. The only exceptions, he was against Gobert and against Jokic, 2 of the best rebounding centers in the league. 13 in the first meeting against OKC, including 5 offensive rebounds. The Thunder are allowing the second most rebounds per game in the league. They're allowing the second most offensive rebounds per game in the league. And the Thunder, we know, drive to the rim a lot. They are averaging the 3rd most points in the paint per game. So I do think that even in pick-and-roll switches, the Thunder will still bring Claxton to the basket because they don't exactly excel at shooting threes, besides Isaiah Joe, who's a great three-point shooter. But I'm going to go with the over for Claxton rebounds. I think his impact will be pretty noticeable in this game.
Yeah, I did play Claxton double-double in this game. That's at around +120, +130. Definitely shop around for the best number. But, like Scott mentioned there, he added the double-double against the Thunder, 17 points, 13 rebounds in a matchup back in January. He's had a double-double in 3 of the last 5 games, but obviously, like Scott nailed it in the last 2 games, he had to go up against Rudy Gobert and Jokic, where he did get into foul trouble in those games, ended up with 9 rebounds in 1 game and then 6 against the Denver Nuggets. But Prior to that, 13 against the Rockets, 12 against Charlotte Hornets, 11 against the 12 against the Celtics as well. So I think he'll be able to get the points here tonight as well. Also do like his blocks. I see that number at 2.5 at minus 105. He did have, I think it was 4 blocks against the Thunder. And again, it's just a good matchup here tonight. As Scott mentioned, that this team likes to drive to the basket, so there should be opportunities for him to get some block shots. He's had at least 3 block shots in 4 of the last 5 games. And he had 4 block shots in 2 of the last 3 games. So again, maybe this guy be another option for you DFS players to put into your lineup here tonight. I think should be a big night for Claxton. Delonte, player props?
Yeah, man, I'll just keep the Claxton love going. I like him over points and rebounds. You guys pretty much laid it out. I don't want to, repeat that. He's over in 2 of the last 3 games. He had 20 in 2 other games prior to that, and that was in less favorable matchup. So I like the matchup here for him. I think he's gonna, walk into 12 and 12 type of game. So I like Claxton over. I also wouldn't be surprised if Cam Johnson goes off tonight here. I think he has the biggest advantage on the wing with the way he can shoot the ball over guys. So I like him over his threes and his points.
Yeah, Cam Johnson has
he's been struggling as of late though.
Yeah. He's shooting the ball. Yeah, over the last 5 games.
I'm not surprised. He's a streaky 3-point shooter. This is just kind of who he is.
Yeah, 28% over the last 5 games for him.
He'll get it going though.
The rebounds have been there as well. I mean, you've seen games where he's got double-digit rebounds. He had 8 against the Timberwolves in that game. So yeah, I think he could be a sneaky play here tonight for sure. All right, guys, anything else for this game?
I like Mikal Bridges under 2.5 assists at plus 140. Plus 140 is a bargain. I know 2.5 sounds low because Bridges has the ball in his hands a decent amount. Not as much as you think, as Dinwiddie really, really likes to play hero ball late in games. But Bridges had less than 3 assists in 4 of the last 5. And he's had less than 3 assists in 12 of his 14 career games against the Thunder. I know that's a little bit misleading because he was playing 3rd or 4th fiddle on Phoenix as opposed to now. But once again, you're looking at his recent games. He really doesn't get many assists. That's where Dinwiddie thrives. I don't mind Dinwiddie assists in this game too.
Yeah.
But I think plus 140 is a good price on the under for Bridges assists.
Yeah, Dinwiddie's at 7.5, but it's heavily juiced at minus 155 for his assists. I don't know if you want to buy that up. Last 5 games, he's averaging 9.4. 16 in the last game against the Denver Nuggets. He had 11 against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then a couple games ago against Charlotte and Boston, 8 each in that game. So he's really been racking up the assists. And the points have been there as well. So maybe a points and assist combination for Dinwiddie here tonight as well. All right, guys. Let's get over to the next game of the night. That's going to be the Orlando Magic against the San Antonio Spurs here tonight. This number opened up in favor of the Orlando Magic. -5. That number has pretty much stayed the course at -5. Total opened up at 234. That number has been bet down to 233. Do see some 232.5s out there as well. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the start here with the Orlando Magic, Franz Wagner is questionable here tonight with a right ankle sprain, and Jonathan Isaac is going to be out here tonight. For the San Antonio Spurs, Kim Birch, Malachi Branham, Trey Jones, and Romeo Langford are all out tonight. Keldon Johnson and Jeremy Sohan are questionable here tonight for the San Antonio Spurs. Let's start with the side here. Orlando is laying, 5 against the San Antonio Spurs on the road here. Delonte, why don't you lead us off with this game between the Spurs and the Magic?
Yeah, I like the Magic here, laying a number. They're 18, 14, and 1 ATS on the road. The Spurs won 2 of the last 5 games, which is way too many for Popovich and RC Buford. So I don't see them putting up a lot of effort. Those guys on the injury report are pretty big to their offense, what little they do have. So I don't think that, the Magic have been inconsistent, and I know it's kind of tough to just, place a bet with Orlando laying points on the road. But, I mean, it's the Spurs. They got smacked by the Rockets twice. That's not too bad. Me and that Boston just got beat by the Rockets. So my bad, Munaf. I ain't want to
disrespectful.
Yeah, I ain't want to disrespect your Rockets. But yeah, I don't think that the Spurs are going to be interested in winning this game. I think the Magic, while they are losing, they are playing hard. I think Paolo has a big game tonight. So I like the Magic laying a number, even though they've been inconsistent. I think it's a good spot for them to get a win here by 8 or 9 points.
Yeah, I mean, we know that Spurs, Pistons, Rockets are all in that tankathon. So
does it matter for the Spurs as much anymore, though, because the top 3 get the same percentage? Aren't the Spurs indirectly kind of locked into the top 3 at this point?
Yeah, so Rockets and Spurs are definitely locked into the top 3. Throwing the Pistons there as well, but the next closest teams, it's not even close. So it's a battle between whoever gets the number 1 pick between the Pistons, Spurs, and the Rockets, because the next team is the Charlotte Hornets at 22 wins. Yeah. And these other 3 teams have 16, 16, and 17. So I think those 3 teams are pretty much locked in. But yeah, we did see the Spurs get the victory. What was it, against the
Nuggets?
Yeah, the Denver Nuggets, which is kind of telling how bad Denver has been, like we talked about them earlier. But yeah, I'll probably go with the Magic here. Am I comfortable laying the -5 here? I mean, if you made me pick, I would probably go with the Magic here. I think they're the more, I guess, quote unquote, healthy team, about not holding guys out and just playing basketball. But non-conference games this season: Orlando 16-8-1 against the spread. That's close to close to 67%. They are also 18-7 towards the over. In road games this season in non-conference spots, they are 7-2-1 against the spread. 6-4 towards the over here. So I'm not going to think too much about it. I'll just lay the -5 here with the Orlando Magic. Scott, what do you got after this game?
For now, I'm going to have to plead the 5th because I got to wait on the injury report, because I really want Keldon Johnson and Sohan to play if I'm going to make a case for San Antonio. Assuming those 2 play, I'll take San Antonio on the money line. I think it's actually a decent lineup. I know that San Antonio is awful, and when I say decent lineup, I'm saying compared to their usual standards. But Vassell's healthy again. You might have Keldon Johnson, you might have Sohan, and Zach Collins have been pretty decent for them. I don't mind that starting 5 with Devontae Graham at the starting point guard spot. For at least a tanking team, you'd assume the lineup would be a lot worse. But Orlando has not been good on the road. Against the spread, they're pretty good. But straight up, they are 12-21. Once again, I'm going to wait to see if Keldon and Sohan play. I think it's a big deal if they do. And if they do, I'm going to take Spurs money line.
All right. Thoughts on the total then, Scott?
I'm going to lean over. First meeting landed 246. I still don't trust San Antonio to guard anybody, but I think offensively they can put up some points. Same thing with the Magic. Last couple of games: Portland 241, Milwaukee 257. Giannis didn't play in that game, I don't believe. Played against Utah, landed 255. Played against Miami, did go to overtime, but ended up landing 240. I'm on the over in this game.
Yeah, I like the over in this game as well. Like you mentioned, the earlier matchup landed 240 plus in that game. Mm-hmm. Orlando, I think they are the number 1 team in non-conference games over the total. And like you mentioned, can we really trust San Antonio Spurs to play any defense? I don't think so. So San Antonio in non-conference games this season, 14-11 towards the over, 56%. And overall, like I mentioned, Orlando 18-7. To the over, 72% in non-conference games. So, yeah, I really do like the over in this game. I agree with everything Scott said there. Delonte, thoughts on the total?
Yeah, I'll make it a trifecta. I'll like the over also, especially if those guys aren't in. Because if they're not in, like some of those key guys, then we got backups coming in who are trying to get a spot on another team or get another contract or whatever the case may be. And I think they'll just be looking to score. So I like the over here. I think the Magic's length and their athleticism can give the Spurs trouble, which is why I like them on the number. And I also think they'll get out in transition and be able to score these on the Spurs. So yeah, I like the over. The Spurs are very volatile from 3, but if they're hitting their threes, I think they can score some points here. And the Magic is not like world beaters on the defensive end. So I like the over with you guys.
Got any player props?
I like Paolo over 21.5 points. I think it's short. I think that's kind of short. The Spurs are like bottom 5 in all defensive, all shooting defensive shooting metrics. So that includes like mid-range, and that's where Paolo operates. So I think he has a big game, 25 plus points, so over 21.5 points. And it's not even juice. I think it's like minus, you can get reduced like minus 107, minus 106 on that. I think it's a good play.
Scott, player props?
I don't exactly have much because, once again, I got to wait and see if Keldon Johnson and Sohan are going to play, because that'll definitely determine the shot distribution for San Antonio. I do think Wendell Carter's got a good matchup, though. I'd probably consider him for a double-double. Boncaro, I think, should have a good game too. I'm trying to think if I want to go for Fultz assists because somebody's going to get assists. Wagner might not play. And just because I think San Antonio's got a shot to win this game doesn't mean I think they're going to get many stops. So I think Fultz assists might be worth a look because Wagner gets a couple every now and then, but he might not play. I think Fultz is a pretty underrated shot and maybe a double-double in this game.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking at for Markelle Fultz. That number's at 6.5 right now for his assist.
What's the double-double at?
Double should be then close to what, 4-1, maybe 5-1
plus 350. Oddsmakers ain't giving you 5-1. I don't think. Maybe plus 4. Maybe.
Yeah, 5 plus 520.
Oh shoot!
Shouldn't have doubted us.
All right.
Yeah,
right.
Delonte,
520. I mean,
I'll take
that.
that. Yeah, I'll take that too.
Yeah. Wendell Carter Jr. plus 105. Since
that's not bad either.
Yeah. Anything else for this game, guys?
Yeah, another thing to go with Paolo's points is he's like getting extremely, he's getting extreme volume. He's averaging 18.6 attempts per game over the last 5 games, so he's going to get up his shots. So
yeah, I'm just trying to pull up his numbers here. The last 5 games, 24 points per game. Let's see here. Definitely get the shot volume. 18.6 attempts per game as well. So if one of the we mentioned that Wagner might be out for this game, so I think that gives him a little bit more opportunity to get up a shot, and that is actually Mo Wagner, not Franz Wagner. Let me just double check that. Yeah, actually, it is Franz Wagner. I'm sorry.
I thought it was Franz. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, definitely keep that injury in mind. That I think that if he's ruled out, I'll probably hop on Paulo Banchero with you there, Delonte, in this game.
Yeah,
there's one more prop that I like, but I don't see a number on it because once again, San Antonio's starting lineups in flux. I like Devontae Graham threes whenever that gets posted. Looking at the volume he's had in the last 4 games, 11 attempts, 9 attempts, 12 attempts, 10 attempts. He's made at least 3 in each of the last 4. He's made at least 4 in 3 of the last 4. The volume's there. So he's going to start because Trey Jones is out, but I do prefer if Keldon and company are not playing because then Graham's going to feel pressure to shoot more. But I don't see a number on it. I like the threes for him, though.
Devontae Graham going to shoot it regardless, man.
Yep.
Yeah, Orlando over the last 10 games, 3-point defense makes allowed per game that spanned. They're number 22, giving up about 13 makes per game. Attempts are around 37 attempts per game, which ranks around number 16, right around league average. But like I mentioned, they are giving up the open looks to the opposition. So that's a great call. I'll wait for that one as well.
It might be a good ladder if the number starts out at like 2.5.
Oh yeah, I know. I think I played it maybe last week for Devontae Graham over 2. I think it was 2.5, and I think there's a good ladder opportunity. Like, yeah, for sure, if you want to get that up to 5 or 6. But like Scott mentioned, there it's been 4, 3, 7, 5, and again the volume is there as well, where he's averaging 22, 30, 44, about 11 attempts per game over the last 4 games. So yeah, definitely can get behind that for sure. All right, guys, let's get over to the next game of the night. It's going to be the rematch of the NBA Finals from a few years ago. The Milwaukee Bucks head to Phoenix here tonight to take on the Suns. Both teams are in a back-to-back situation here, but this line opened up in favor of the Milwaukee Bucks at -1.5. That number is pretty much stay the course at -1.5. We do see a couple -2s out there. Total opened up at 233. That number's been bet down to about 232.5. No injury reports submitted yet for either of these teams. Like I mentioned, they are both on a back-to-back, but the number that has stuck out as far as the Milwaukee Bucks in back-to-back situations this season, they are undefeated against the spread in those games on back-to-back nights. Depending on the number that you did get, they can be either 7-0-2 or 8-0-1 against the spread in back-to-back games here. But we did see the return of Giannis last night. Not sure if he plays here tonight, but definitely a lot of this will hinge on the injury report. But Scott, why don't you lead us off with this game? Bucks traveling into Phoenix here tonight to take on the Suns, where both teams actually are having to travel back to Arizona in Phoenix to play this game.
Yeah, so I'm going to speculate that Giannis does play because he missed the 3 games prior to yesterday. So I think that they're just going to let him play because he was basically off for a week. Middleton's questionable, so keep an eye on him. I'm not sure if that really bothers me that much because that means that Giannis and Holiday might have the ball more.
Yep.
Holiday wasn't exactly great offensively, but still he's proven time and time again he can handle a bigger responsibility. I'm going to take the Bucks, though. The Suns, it was a game that I think meant more to Golden State, obviously, but I wasn't exactly impressed by the effort the Suns showed. Decent comeback, but then they got smacked again in the fourth quarter. But I do think you're going to see Milwaukee perform well. They got a lot of size in the interior. Lopez might get suspended, but I'm sure he'll appeal, so he'll probably play in this game anyway. I'm going to go with Milwaukee, though. They're a freight train, and they've been very good in back-to-backs. It's simple as that. I'm going to lean to Milwaukee.
Delonte.
Yeah, these are two teams that I want to bet on and not against. I think Scott pretty much laid it out. I know both teams are on a back-to-back. I do like the under more. I know we'll get into that in a little bit. But I just don't want to bet against either team. If I had to, I'd lean to the Suns just simply because of the performance they put on last night. Other than that little run they had between the second quarter, the end of the second and start of the third was just so bad. Overall, they wasted a really, really good game from Booker and Ayton. So I think the Suns might get a bounce back effort here. If I had to play it, I play the Suns on the money line just at a plus price because I think if they win, if they cover, they win. So you can get more bang for your buck there. The Bucks, I think Middleton might sit. Giannis kind of up in the air. So I'm leaning towards the Suns here. I don't have any conviction. I like the spot for the Suns more.
Mr. I have an extra future on Milwaukee's fading the Bucks in this spot. Fascinating.
I did. Yeah.
I got to go with the Bucks here. I can't really ignore the back-to-back, the trend this season. And a lot of those games have been without Giannis in the lineup, Middleton in those back-to-back games.
And against some decent teams.
Yeah, and Drew Holiday has played. I think he's played in a lot of those back-to-back games where those numbers have looked really good for him. So I think there's another opportunity for him to bounce back after having a poor offensive effort last night for Drew Holiday. So the injury obviously to Kevin Durant is huge for this team, and I think defensively, if they're able to slow down Devin Booker in this game, where does the other points come from? Do you really trust DeAndre Ayton to put up the points for you? The depth around the big three of the Bucks, I think, has just really been the difference so far. Not only when they won the championship against his Suns team, but in those back-to-back situations, like we mentioned. So, again, definitely keep an eye out for the injury report. If one of the big three or two of the three big three sit for the Milwaukee Bucks, at that point, you probably want to look at Bobby Portis, Grayson Allen, player props. So I don't see really anything listed as far as Bucks players, but didn't touch on the total yet. Scott, do you have anything for the total?
For me on this one, I'm going to lean to the under. They're both on back-to-backs. The first meeting landed 205. I think both teams might be exhausted, especially the Bucks because they had that high-scoring game against the Kings with 80 points in the fourth quarter. I'm going to lean to the under. I think it'll be more of a defensive battle between two teams that might see each other again in a couple of months.
Back-to-back situations as far as a total for the Milwaukee Bucks, 6-3 to the under. Averaging about 224 points, and for the Phoenix Suns in back-to-back situations this season, they are 7-2 towards the under, average about 220 per game in those situations. Dante, thoughts on the total?
Yeah, Scott outlined it perfectly. Off of back-to-back, I think they're both. They're already defensive-oriented teams for the most part. They both are top 10 in defensive rating. So I think that the opportunity for the offenses are to get off to a fast start is a little bit. It's not going to get off to a fast start as some would seem. Again, you see the Bucks, you see the Suns, you think a lot of points, but they're mostly going to play a lot of defense, a lot of slow down pace, and especially off of that back-to-back with both teams off of travel. It's not just the Bucks traveling back. It's the Suns are also going back, as you highlighted earlier. So I honestly would lean to a first half under. Shout out my man Kramer on the first half under. So under 115. I would split a unit, 115 under on a half unit, and then full game under.
I do see Giannis player props listed right now as the only Bucks player, so I don't know if that's a telling sign or not, but we always seen when it comes to the witching hour for those injuries that players do get ruled out. But anything as far as player props, Delonte?
Yeah, it's kind of hard, like you said, with some of the injuries. I kind of want to wait. I see just a few things, but nothing that catches my eye. I'll probably just wait until later on, maybe pivot to, like you said, with a Portis, points and rebounds, and the Lopez stuff. So, is have the NBA came down with anything yet or no?
No, but he's probably going to appeal anyway. So I'm assuming he's going to play today, and then he'll miss probably the next game.
Yeah, I kind of like I kind of like his threes if he does go. Like his threes over. I think he'll be able to stretch Ayton out to the floor. I mean to the 3-point line, and Ayton's not the best on ball defender. I like what KW franchise said, under 10.5 rebounds. I think the physicality that the Bucks bring will keep Ayton off the glass also. So yeah, I'll lean under to that what KW franchise was saying, 10.5 rebounds, and also over threes for Brook Lopez.
Scott.
I'm looking at Chris Paul under in points, which I see at 13.5. The under is actually even money. I don't mind it. We know that with just how he's played this season, he's past his prime. He's still efficient and he has some moments here and there, but he's not exactly been great scoring lately. Had 11 last game, had 16 and 18 the 2 games prior to that, but that was against San Antonio and OKC, 2 of the worst defenses in the league. Had 11 against Dallas, 11 against Chicago, 2 against Charlotte. I just think that offensively his point total's too high. I'm going to look at Chris Paul under.
Yeah, I think Drew Holiday does play here tonight. Probably look at his points prop over 9 of the last 10 career games, and this dates all the way back to the time where he was with the Pelicans against the Phoenix Suns. He scored 20 or more in 9 of the last 10 career games. As far as since he's been with Milwaukee since 2021 in regular season games against the Suns, 25, 21, 24, and then 33. Obviously, got to go back and look if Giannis played in those games or not, or if Chris Middleton was in those games or not. But typically, he does have success against his Phoenix Suns teams as far as scoring points. So once we get more news about injuries and things like that, we'll be on Drew Holiday in some form or fashion if he is in here tonight. Anything else for this game, guys?
Yeah, I got nothing.
All right. Let's get over to the last game of the night. That's going to be the New York Knicks in Portland here tonight to take on the Trailblazers. This line opened up in favor of the New York Knicks at -1.5. The number's been bet up to -2. Do see some -2.5s out there as well. Total opened up at 229.5. The number's been bet down to 228. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson is doubtful here tonight with the left foot injury. That is pretty much it for the New York Knicks. For the Portland Trailblazers, Jeremy Grant and Damian Lillard are both questionable here tonight, and then Justice Winslow continues to be out with the left ankle sprain for the Blazers. Scott, why don't you lead us off with the last game of the night? The New York Knicks visiting the Portland Trailblazers tonight as a 2.5-point road favorite.
Yeah, I got to go with the Knicks here. First of all, it's not even guaranteed that Lillard's going to play because he's battling a calf injury, and he did not play against New Orleans. So there's no guarantee he's going to be active, and that's the only thing I like about Portland. Shout out to Simons, though, came back and looked pretty good. But Portland's a team I don't like at all. I don't think they're very good. The Knicks have been fine lately. I mean, they lost 1 or 2 games there to Sacramento. No shame in that. Game was competitive, and they've been good pretty much besides that. Nice win against the Lakers last time out. Besides that, I just think that this team, unlike Portland, actually plays defense. And RJ Barrett's been decent in the last couple games without Brunson playing. The shot volume's still too high. He took 27 shots last game, which is ridiculous. But I think Randall's going to have a matchup advantage no matter who he's against. Portland still doesn't really have anybody in the interior. They got Nurkic back, but I'm not exactly sold on Nurkic in 2023 because he can't run the floor. But I'm going to go with the Knicks here. The spread seems a little bit low when the Knicks have been good lately, and Portland is really just not a good team. It's also a Josh Hart revenge game, if you want to make a case for any props for him. But I'm going to go with the Knicks. If I don't know Lillard's going to play or not, how am I supposed to take Portland?
You can't. I don't think you can even if he does play.
I can agree. That's a separate point. But I'm saying it's based on right now, if there's no guarantee that Lillard's in the lineup, I want nothing to do with Portland.
Yeah, look, Portland non-conference home games this season, 3-9 against the spread, 9-3 towards the under. I just don't trust them, man. I think that's just what it kind of comes down to. I think even if Dame plays here tonight, I know they got Simons back, but Knicks have, like you mentioned, they've actually been playing defense. Non-conference games this season for the New York Knicks, they are, let's see. Non-conference games for the Knicks, they are... God, all right, let me try to pull that up. But Delonte, why don't you give your handicap, and I'll try to pull up that number.
Yeah, I really like Scott said. I mean, I had like good vision to take the Blazers here on the money line, but with Dame's status up in the air, I mean, I can't really do that. They've lost 3 straight, but they have covered 3 of the last 5. I think the Knicks, if the Knicks can control the glass and get to the rim with ease as they usually do, is Brunson playing or is he out?
No,
He's doubtful.
Brunson's probably gonna be out for a
plays.
while.
Okay,
being realistic.
So that was even more of an advantage for the Blazers. That was like basically my main reason to taking the Blazers in the handicap. But I just don't think that the Blazers can do anything without Dame at all. They're probably like one of the worst teams in the league without Dame on the floor, which is credit to his greatness, actually. But yeah, they're returning from a 6-game road trip. Their defense has been horrible. Allowed 120 plus in the last 2 games, 115 plus in 4 of the last 5. So I guess that would bode well for the Knicks to have success here. Scott mentioned about Barrett. Yeah, he's probably going to take 30 shots tonight, Scott. So get ready for that. Portland is 6th in points per possession offense, but I mean some of the Portland numbers that I've got wrote down, it kind of don't matter if Dame doesn't play, so I won't even read them out. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of with you, Scott, on the Knicks, especially if Dame doesn't play. So I'll probably go ahead and play the Knicks here on the money line rather than waiting to see when the news comes out that Dame doesn't play and you get a worse number. So
what does the line go to if he doesn't play? I'm assuming some of it might be baked in, but
I think it's already
6.5?
in.
Yeah, I would guess like 4. I don't think they can. I don't think the Knicks can lay 6 on the road. I don't think so. So what is it?
I'm going based on what I think Lillard might be worth. I think he's got to be worth at least like 4 points.
What is
right
it?
now? It's at
-2.5.
So I think that's already baked in a little bit. So I'm with Delonte. I think it probably gets to like 4.5, maybe 5.
Now with Brunson, maybe 6, 6.5.
Okay.
Yeah, with Brunson,
that's fair.
Yeah. Do we already talk about the total?
I like the over. I like the over a lot. I think that the Knicks can control the glass. They're top 5 on putbacks in the half court, and Portland struggles in that category. So they should be able to like literally dominate on the glass with Mitchell Robinson and those guys. I just don't think that Portland has enough interior to be able to contend with the Knicks. Knicks is a physical team. Chauncey Billups was like known for saying that the Blazers aren't as tough as they should be. So Knicks coming in, Dibs, tough defense. So I think the Knicks score pretty easily. And even without Dame, I think Simons has a big game. The Knicks do a good job defensively defending the 3, but I mean, the rate that the Blazers are going to shoot it, I think it's going to overwhelm them. So I like the over. Both teams should be able to score here.
Scott, thoughts on the total?
I'm going to lean to the over too. Even without Lillard, you still have Simons, who's not afraid to chuck it a bunch. Grant's still going to shoot a lot. I think you're going to see points in this game, so I agree with you on the over.
All right. Player props.
I like Mitchell Robinson, his points and rebounds. I went over the interior for the Blazers, and Scott outlined it. Nurkic is a shell of himself pretty much, so I like him over. I'm kind of like waiting for the Dame news. Scott, I don't want to take any Portland props, and they're inflated and get a better number if he does play. So I'll just go with Mitchell Robinson, points and rebounds over, and also look at some RJ Barrett points, rebounds, and assists.
Yeah, I think you probably have to look at Mitchell Robinson rebounds here tonight.
His block, it steals and blocks too, also.
Yeah. Trying to find. I don't see anything listed for him yet as far as rebounds.
By the way, Josh Hart double 6-1.
I think we should parlay that with Markelle Fultz.
I'm a bit annoyed, though, because I want to just take the rebounds with Hart because the points are always a question mark, but he's going to battle on the glass. But I don't see any rebound props available. I think I would rather take like 10-plus rebounds or even like 12-plus rebounds and just ignore the points if I had a choice.
I see 6.5.
I'm saying I see the regular. I don't see the alternatives.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they'll probably – probably later in the day – they'll drop the alt. Well, yeah, I don't see the alt yet.
As I'm saying, I think I would rather gamble on 10-plus rebounds or 12-plus rebounds than take double-double because the points are always up in the air.
Yeah. That's only I would look. Mitchell Robinson rebounds, Josh Hart. I didn't really have any other player.
Maybe.
Oh, I see. Greg brought up a good point with Cam Reddish. I'm not a Cam Reddish guy, but I mean, maybe he has to get some. He has to get some attempts and some like volume if Lillard's out. So
if Lillard's out, I agree, but I can't touch it until I know. But I also don't think Cam Reddish is good. So
me either.
Yeah, he's getting the minutes, that's for sure, but he's just not very consistent at knocking down shots. But yeah, again, another game where we're kind of waiting to see what the injury status is. Obviously, the big one surrounding Damian Lillard as far as
Greg, I like the idea based on
player
potential
props.
volume if Lillard's out, but until I know for certain, I can't confirm or I can't agree with that play or not. I have to wait and see the injury report.
So you don't want to do a Duke parlay, Scott, with RJ and Cam points?
So I saw a franchise mention RJ under. That I can't take because he put in 22.5 points. I think it's points. It could be shot attempts. I'm not sure what he's referring to, but no, I got to go with the over for Barrett because the volume is crazy. I don't think Barrett's a great player, but he has stepped up in Brunson's absence, and he has a lot of confidence. Let's put it that way. So he's going to probably attempt 20-plus shots. So I can't lean to an under if the volume's going to be crazy.
Yeah, man.
And Quickly's been getting the start, right, in his absence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. More Grimes minutes, too.
Yeah, maybe Quickly assist is worth the look. All right.
Franchise, the points might have been a luck, but the 27 shot attempts were purely intentional. That's the difference.
Yeah, the attempts. Attempts are intentional. The points might be a little bit of luck factor there, like you said. All right, guys. Before we get into our lock and dog for the evening, let me tell everyone about our presenting sponsor. That is WinBet. They are the official online sportsbook of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And look, they're now officially in Massachusetts. So if you are in Massachusetts, definitely check them out. Make sure to download the app because that'll make everything easier for you. And just be on the lookout for WinBet Win Hour each Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. During WinBet Win Hour, marquee games of the week will have better odds on WinBet, giving you a larger payout opportunity. And March Madness is officially here. So many ways to bet on the big dance. Sign up today to receive a special offer, bet 100 and get 100, limited state availability. And of course, our DGens only. If you hit the biggest long shot parlay of the week, you get $1,000 free credit. There's so much to choose from. All you have to do is head over to winbet.com or download the WinBet app. App offers up to change terms and conditions at winbet.com. Must be 20 years or older and present in the state where playthrough WinBet is available. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. And we're also brought to you by the DGen Dance, the March Madness contest happening exclusively on the SGPN app. Number one, the DGen Dance, like I mentioned, the March Madness Bankroll contest. It's free to enter, $1,000 in cash and prizes up for grabs. And also the first half under bingo contest where you can win a SGPN gift card, but exclusively you can only enter on the SGPN app. And let me tell you guys about the newest sponsor over on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. That's going to be the Shady Rays. Again, like I mentioned, summer is right around the corner, or if you're going on ski trips later in the year, you need some new sunglasses, you need to check out Shady Rays. They have you covered from the sun to the slopes with premium polarized shades, customizable snow goggles, and much more. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive wear or any expensive pair that we've worn. Durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. That's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses backed by lost and broken replacements. Look, if you get it the first day and they're broken, they'll send you out a new pair just for free. There's no questions asked about it. With Shady Rays, you can look good and feel good. And to date, they have donated over 20 million meals to fight hunger with Feeding America. And if you don't love them, you can exchange them for a new pair or just simply return them within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop with Shady Rays. Their team always has your back. So for our listeners only, if you go to shadyrays.com and use promo code SGPN for 50% off, for 50% off when you buy 2 or more pairs of their polarized sunglasses. Again, use promo code SGPN for 50% off of 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 200,000 people. That's shadyrays.com using promo code SGPN.
Do we get those Shady Rays like Kramer had on? Or no? Who was it? Both of them had them on last night.
You got to make sure to get over to their website, man. Use promo code SGPN, my man. Yeah, that's where you're going to get them. All right, guys. Let's get into our lock and dog here for tonight to close out the show. We're going kind of long here, but let's Delonte, why don't you lead us off, man? Lock and dog for tonight.
Yeah, I'll keep it simple. Lock is going to be Oklahoma City, like the matchup for them. I think they get it done at home, where they are sub like 60% ATS on the season. For the dog, can I still get Charlotte at plus 7.5, even with the Mitchell news? I see the screen was lighting up a little, but I still see like 7.5 in some places.
That number is now down to 6, I believe.
Okay, well, I'll pivot. I'll take the Lakers. Are the Lakers still plus 1.5?
It's pick 'em.
Oh fuck. Well, just give me Charlotte one. It's plus 6. I'll take it.
All right. Scott, what do you got?
So I'm going to go with player props in this one. My lock's going to be from that Nets Thunder game. I am going to go to the over in Claxton rebounds at 9.5 at around minus 130. I just think it's a great matchup. Claxton is the only decent center that the Nets actually have. Once again, shout out to Nerlens Noel for being on an NBA team in 2023. But the Thunder don't have a center. And I think that Claxton's going to be able to really patrol the paint well. The Thunder drive the lane a lot. I think that you're going to see a lot of opportunities for Claxton. He had 13 rebounds in the first meeting, had 5 offensive rebounds in the first meeting. Thunder allowing the second most rebounds per game in the league, the second most offensive rebounds per game in the league. It's really a great matchup for Claxton. So I'll go with Claxton over 9.5 rebounds as my lock.
And for your dog?
For my dog, I was thinking if I wanted to go with a money line or if I want to go with potentially a player prop. Now that I think about it, San Antonio I'm tempted by, but I don't know the injury report yet, so I got to wait. I'll go to the same game, actually. I'll go with the under 2.5 assists on Bridges. I just think that price is very generous. He's had less than 3 assists in 4 of the last 5 games and less than 3 in 12 of 14 against OKC. It's not as good as the Looney numbers yesterday. Shout out to Looney for going under his 10.5 rebounds. But I am going to go with the Bridges under 2.5 assists at plus 140.
All right. All right, for my lock, there's 2 that I do like. Let's go with the over in the Orlando Magic and the San Antonio Spurs game. Defense is definitely questionable for sure for the San Antonio Spurs. Even if we do get one of Keldon Johnson or Jeremy Sohan in this game, I think there's enough talent on this team for them to get over this, or at least do their part of scoring to push this number over the total. The number is currently sitting at 233 right now over on WinBet. Orlando, like I mentioned, the number 1 team towards the over in non-conference games. They are 18 and 7 towards the over in non-conference games at 72%. San Antonio 14-11 at 56%, so not bad. And we saw the earlier matchup this season where they got 240 plus points in that game. So I think there's both enough offensively for both teams to push this number over the total. For my dog, I'm also going to go with the Claxton prop. I'm going to go with his double-double here tonight, plus 120. We talked about it. He's dominated against teams that don't do a very good job rebounding. Earlier matchup this season against the Thunder, he had 17 points, 13 rebounds. So I think a double-double at plus 120, if he can definitely get in this game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So those are going to be my picks for tonight. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast. Again, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the NBA Gambling Podcast. We are very, very getting closer to 800 subscribers. Hopefully we can get to 1,000 by the end of the NBA season. So again, make sure to subscribe to the NBA Gambling Podcast. And if you haven't already, do us a favor, smash that like button for us on the live stream right now for YouTube. Scott, anything else you need to mention before we get out of here, my man?
No, you can find me on Twitter at Reichel Radio. Besides that, doing tennis podcasts. I should have another episode out either late tonight or early tomorrow morning. So keep an eye on that. Doing a mock draft with Terrell for a live stream on the NFL Gambling Podcast this afternoon. So it's going to be picks 1 through 16. We'll do the rest of the draft either later this week or next week. But stay tuned for that. We got a mock draft for you.
Delonte, anything else?
You're on mute. You gave it a good run, though. You got through an hour and 50 without being on mute.
Man. I got nothing else, man. Let's just hope we can get some winners, man.
Yeah, make sure to follow Delonte on Twitter at XXLonteXX. Follow Scott on Twitter at Reichel Radio. Follow me on Twitter at SportsNerd824. Again, if you haven't already, follow us on Twitter, make sure to do so at SGPN NBA. All right, Terrell and I will be back tomorrow for the Wednesday pod. So look out for us then. Till then, good luck with your picks. Let's break these books off and let it ride.